What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of the Off the Break podcast. My name is Tyler, and we have quite a few things going on. I've got my phone up here because I actually got a few questions in the email, which is pretty awesome. I wasn't expecting that till a lot later, but they came a lot sooner than what I anticipated. So we have some questions we can look at and everything. Right now, really quickly, I want to touch base on the Dallas event that's going on right now. As this as this episode of the podcast is going, the Dallas Open is going on right now, and if you asked me to place bets on the teams that I thought I that would win, a lot, I'd be losing a lot of money right now. It's kind of crazy. Di posted a question asking if we should go back to blind layouts, and like I'm 100% for that. I think we should go back to blind layouts. I get it, like, in other sports, the fields usually stay the same. I think I've touched on this before, but the fields usually stay the same. And, so the pros in those fields don't really need to worry about the field changing up. They just need to worry about their opponent, right? And the plays that they're going to make. I feel as though with the pros, the guys that can't get out there and practice enough, it shouldn't be an freaking tough luck kind of thing. I think everything should be on an even playing field, especially up at the pro level. I'm not saying pros don't get to practice as much as they like. I'm just saying, you know, I feel like this is just that even playing field because a lot of I asked about like what group would be. I think I asked what group would be the hardest group, or I was just looking at. I think I was looking at the schedule. I think I was just looking at the schedule. That's what it was. But in some of the groups, it's kind of like, you have like, we're not gonna lie, right? There are the pro teams that are kind of like back. If we were back in the PSP days, with the challengers and the champions division, we would know who's the challengers teams, and then we would know who the champions teams are. And from looking at the schedule and the brackets and stuff like that, it kind of seemed cut and dry as to who was going to win what, or so we thought, or so I thought, I should say. And it did not turn out that way. And I think it has a lot to do with this blind layout. And I definitely think this is something we should continue. Blind layout is awesome. I am going to be 100% of an advocate for that blind layout all day, every day. So I wanted to get that one out of the way real quick because, like, again, Di asked that question on Instagram for anybody to answer. And again, I think that's something we should continue. Blind layout all day. Now, another thing is I touched on it, I'm pretty sure in the first episode of making crazy layouts, just having crazy layouts, not having the same old. And like I made a comment saying, somebody had to be watching the podcast from NXL because this layout is awesome. This is a sick layout. This is the most fun looking layout I've seen in a while. This is one of those layouts I definitely would have played. I think it's great. It's not mirrored, from dead box to dead box, but it's mirrored from one side of the field. And it's like vertical, horizontally flipped to the other side. So like if you have your snake, you will always have like snake on your right side, no matter what side of the field you're on, and you'll have Dorito side, no matter what, on the left side. So actually, let me pull up a picture of this real quick so I can make sure everything is as I'm saying. So what we're looking at is in the layout that we have going on, it's like you break out, you have your snake beam on the right, and then it comes to a wedge, and then a larger wedge, and then 3 Doritos, and this is on the right side, right? And then on the left side, you have your 3 Doritos, and then you have your snake. Then you have your large wedge, small wedge, snake, 2 snake beams, and like the little cake on it. So that's sick. I think that's awesome. I think this is such a great idea. And with the 50 being 2 wedges, or sorry, a wedge, a snake beam diagonally, and then into a brick. So a very large brick. I think this, whoever created this layout, you guys did an awesome job. I think this is so artistic. I guess is what I'm trying to get at. It's such a, again, I can't express it enough. It's such a great layout. Um, the angles on it and everything, it looks great. I mean, the angles from like, I'm gonna just say snake, but the side with the snake beam, so your right side, the right side, God bunker, that little Aztec, looking down inside. If you were to wrap it, you could look on the inside, down the 50, and you could shoot over top. And it looks like you could like come out the left side of that Aztec. You don't need to play, heads up, but you can kind of come out at an angle and shoot the other Aztec. So your mirror, the corner, you can stay low and shoot over top of the 50 the 50 wedge, and kill the tower, kill the back tower. There's so many. It's so many options. I think they did awesome on this. There could be more that I could look at, but I'm not trying to like stay looking at down here or anything. But yeah, I think again, you guys did awesome. This is such a great layout. I hope we can continue this, dude. And you know what? I so hope that we can continue the blind layout. Definitely, 100% an advocate. I sound like a broken record, but I just can't express it. I can't express how awesome, of an idea this was. So yeah, again, I got some podcast questions that I'm gonna answer, and we're gonna go from there. So my first question that I got was, why did you choose the marker you shoot? So why did you choose the marker you shoot? Why did you? I'm guessing it's why. Why did I choose the marker that I shot? Well, from where I'm from, and the general consensus, as you could probably take this from anybody that's kind of played paintball for a very long time. It was a very when I started, it was a very PE versus die era. It was like one or the other. Ollie Lang was going from Dynasty to Iron Man back to Dynasty. There was these rifts, right? And growing up growing up in that era, I have been for Planet Eclipse. I've been more so for them, just because everything worked. Everything just worked, and that was what was great about it. With Die, I didn't feel that same level of comfort. I was also more new to the sport, so I didn't have the ability to tech my own guns and feel comfortable doing that and knowing that my guns were going to work afterwards, right? So with PE, it was more like it was the day of the egos. It was like Ego 8s. I think the 8s were brand new for me at the time. So the Ego 8s and then the Ego 9s, I knew I would just pop the bolt out, clean the bolt, put it back in, popped out the LPR and the regulator, cleaned that up, and I was like pretty much good to go for the most part. I didn't really have to worry about, not even for the most part, I didn't have to worry about anything. The only time one of my egos ever went down was my Ego 9, the pilot valve blew. But, I got that fixed. It was no problem. Went to World Cup, and they fixed it for me, and brand spanking new. So I chose, for the longest time, I chose Planet Eclipse. And it was just that peace of mind that I was able to pull the marker out of my bag, and I could just go out onto the field and shoot. I kind of went outside of that realm of comfort because I just felt like I needed to, it's kind of like traveling. I just wanted to see more stuff, and I wanted to try out more things. So I tried out Bob Long and fell in love. I did the marks. Again, I have a Vis upstairs. It's got to be sold, hopefully, but I had Bob Longs, and yeah, I shoot Planet Eclipse because I just know it's gonna work. Am I a fanboy of them? Absolutely not. If DLX comes out with something that is extremely more bulletproof, then I'm gonna go with that. My opinion is that it's reliability over everything. I don't. If I can't shoot, then the marker's not doing what I need it to be doing, and that's a huge problem. I don't care. I don't care if it gets real crap efficiency, or I mean, I don't care if it gets amazing efficiency or if it gets the smoothest shot, stuff like that. If it gets all that, but the marker works, once a weekend, I don't want it. I just don't want it. I care. Reliability is my number one thing. Is that to say I'm gonna always shoot plated clips? No. I've been looking at the Dye DSR Plus, pretty hardcore lately. Those things look pretty sick. I just want to get my hands on one around the field that I'm at and give them a shot, see how they are, play with one, and just kind of go from there. I know a lot of people, when you look up marker reviews and everything like that, a lot of people focus on the smoothness of a shot. Man, I do not care about that crap. I do not care about that crap. Smoothness of a shot or how much kick it has it's so nitpicky. I feel like it's so nitpicky. Nowadays, compared to what the markers used to be, nowadays it's like, dude, you just pick one up and shoot it. Like that's kind of it. If it checks off all the other boxes, it's good to go. So, the DSR Plus, trying to get my hands on to try that out. Second question, would sponsorship decide what team you play for? Example, if you had to shoot DLX, Dye, Planet Eclipse, Field 1, would you still play for the team? Yeah, I would still play for the team because of the fact that, again, this kind of goes with like reliability. I would know that I would have, with the sponsorship, I would feel comfortable with knowing that, let's say for instance, Lux, if DLX, if I was shooting Lux and the gun went down, I wouldn't fret about it too much because I would know I have DLX backing me up. Like, I could, message them, call them, whatever it need be, and say, hey, I'm Tyler from one of your sponsored teams and the gun went down. Is there a way you can fix this? I don't know what's going on, in case I just don't have the time or anything. So yeah, I mean, if we're doing something to where, there's a mask that just doesn't quite fit my face, like the grills. I'm not the biggest fan of grills. I've had them for a long time, but they just, I don't know. There was something I just couldn't do with them. I think they were like too close to my face. So if there's like I think this question was more over guns. Sponsorship, would sponsorship decide? Okay, so no, it's not just guns. So like, yeah, so let's say for example, we had grills, right? It's all encompassing. It's probably just a V-Force sponsorship, aka GI and Empire. So I would just see if there's a workaround. Can I wear profilers instead? That would fit my face more comfortable. I mean, you see it with Iron Man, right? Back in the day, Paxton used to wear the i3s while everybody else wore i4s. Is that personal preference and it fit his face a lot better? Probably. So I'm sure every team has this, was it, maybe it was X Factor for a while there. Some were wearing profilers, some were wearing grills. I can't really remember. Sloviak wore, when he was on 187, 187 they were sponsored by GI and everything. Sloviak wore profilers while a lot of the others wore the grills. So would sponsorship decide what team you play for? Not really. So if you're asking me though, like if we're sponsored by a Zodin or like Dangerous Power, I think that's where I'd have to draw the line, because I don't really have faith that the guns, that the markers would really hold up in a tournament setting, constantly being shot, and the like. So yeah, if it's within reason, sponsorship would not decide what team I'd play for. Next question. Here it is right here. Next question. Are older markers still viable? Absolutely. And it's kind of ridiculous because I see some videos and I see some posts and stuff, people asking, hey, can this marker, I know it's, 10 years old, but can this marker still do this and that and this and that? You got to remember, the only thing that has changed in paintball is not the grass, not the weather, not the bunkers. The only thing that has changed in paintball is the equipment kind of directly worn on you and the rate of fire that we're shooting. That's kind of more so what has changed in paintball. Paint really oily paint and all that have an effect. Well, yeah, but I mean, older markers aren't going to stop shooting and just break down just because oil, like a few oily paintballs or stuff like that. You got to remember, they used to be used in tournaments. So, like, let's say, for example, a GO2. If you were to take a GO2 out and play in an NXL event, yes, it's still a viable marker. Just because it doesn't have the SFR on it, or it doesn't have, it's not macroless and in three-way triggers, stuff like that. An IV core stuff, you get what I'm saying. Just because it doesn't have that doesn't mean it's not a viable marker. Again, it's nothing has changed in paintball besides time, really. Like, is that bolt rusted out? Well, yeah, then that's not viable. I mean, is it chipped and broken? Yeah, don't use it. I used a Bob-Long closer in a World Cup event in, I think, 2013. And that was perfectly fine. I don't really know when closers came out, though. I think it was like 07, 08 they came out, so it wasn't all that much time difference. But, like, we're still using CS2s that were made in, I think, 2017 or 2018. Yeah, I think it was 2018 because it's been 4 years. I'm almost positive. But we're still also using LV1s that were made back in 2012. So... like it's that's 10 years old and these markers are still being shot. So yeah, suffice to say, old markers are definitely still viable. Don't knock them just because they're old. I think that's kind of a bad idea. Now, I'll tell you a funny story. Again, I've stayed with Planet Eclipse. Actually, we'll get to the next question and then I'll tell the story afterwards. I'll do that. What do you find to be the best format? And this is the last question. What do you find to be the best format? I'm going to probably assume that you mean format as in like 7-man, 5-man, 10-man. And not format as in Millennium NXL or like 500 when we did like the 3 pods in a hopper or like 4 pods in a hopper, or format meaning like airball versus woods ball. I don't think you mean that. I'm going to assume you mean like 5-man versus 7-man versus 10-man. I think 7-man's probably the best. It's a give and take, but I feel like with how many people you have on the field, the better designed bunkers and layouts you can make. I feel like that's how it can go. With 5-man, it's pretty. It's we've been going through it for so many years. It's got that repetition, 2 to the snake, 3 to Dorito, 3 to the snake, 2 to the Dorito, 2 up the middle maybe. It's kind of got that same repetition. But with 7-man, I feel like there's a lot more that can go into it. You can make bigger moves. You can throw 2 people up going to the 50, one stops at the 40, and the next one goes up to the 50. And if you make it there, you make it there. I just feel like, yeah, and if you lose one guy, it's not really that big of a deal. So I feel like 7-man's that perfect. that perfect world of layout and players, rules, stuff like that. Now, 10 man is great as well. I it's a lot of bodies on the field. And you cannot shoot snake corner to snake corner. You can't. I don't even think you could shoot snake corner to like S1. I witnessed it once in World Cup at the Fantasy of Flight in Orlando, and I like guys were basically walking into the snake. Now, so when I say 10 man, I should say 10 man woods ball. But I'm a little biased towards woods ball. I mean, that's just how it is, right? But yeah, definitely 7 man, 100% hands down. So yeah, I hope that's what you mean when you say formats or layouts or whatever it was you said. Sorry, I already put everything away. But yeah, I hope that's what you meant because that's what I answered. But so anyways, yeah, the story I was going to tell you was although I've played with Planet Eclipse, moreover 99% of my paintball career. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's just Florida. I don't know if it's the what is going on really, but it kind of feels like Planet is the I'm not saying the quality control has gone anywhere or anything like that, but it's just weird, right? Where I'm at, it's geos are not working. I don't know if this is a issue going on with the whole community or if it's just my area. Again, so I can only speak on my behalf, right? So my firsthand experience and opinions is that I don't the geos are going the Geo4s are going down quite a lot. I don't know what it is, but they kind of like cease, right? When the GTEC 160Rs came out, a few of my teammates picked them up and the AT pipe kept blowing. I know that my cousin's AT pipe at a scenario, it just blew and blew and blew. We put different tanks on, we adjusted it down to 260, and we tried different size O-rings, and it just kept blowing the AT pipe. Now, the only reason why I bring up my cousins is because it happened multiple times with his in the course of like 2 days at a scenario event, and it just kept going on until we just said, dude, you just need to use a different marker. But has that happened at my local field? Yeah. 160s were the AT pipe would blow, and you know that would be that. We scrimmaged some guys in Orlando, and the 160s, their 160s just wouldn't come to life. Like we would wait on them a lot because their markers were just kept going down. 170s, people are saying that they couldn't get their 170s at my field when we were doing practices. A lot of guys kept saying that 170s couldn't get over 260, and if they did, something would happen. I don't really know what, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's just like it's like in my little circle of things happening. Maybe just because I haven't seen it from anybody else, but in my little circle of things happening, Planet guns are just kind of going down like a lot and really badly. CS2s not so much. CS2s have been pretty well. My 170 has been fine. I had an LV1, and the LV1 was perfectly fine. The guy I bought it off of had the bolt upside down, and I brought it to them at World Cup and was like, hey, I can't figure this out. And then they took it apart, and they couldn't figure it out. They kept telling me it might have been the solenoid is blown. I'd have to buy a new solenoid. They kept telling me it was the board. Eventually, they replaced all of that, and then Jack Wood, they talked to Jack about it, and then Jack was like, dude, the bolt is upside down. And even Jack was like, hey, you know, I kept undoing the pin and like, well, pulling the bolt out, and like it didn't click with me to turn it upside down, and I didn't even see that either. So it passed by all those techs and even passed Jack, and so yeah, there was that, but the LV1 worked perfectly fine. I freaking love the LV1. And And so yeah, the point I'm trying to make is just like, um, with that happening, now I'm kind of like, all right, if planet guns are kind of going down and they're not as reliable in my area, again, just my area, um, I'm gonna start looking at other markers too, just in case I feel as though they would go down. Now, am I saying the Lux or the field ones or the die markers, the shockers? Am I saying that they go down even more so than planet? I mean, I don't think so. I haven't even been able to play with them to even know. So like that's like I don't have any room to talk, right? I'd have to use them first. Um, so yeah, with the point I'm trying to make again is just with planet going, like the planet markers going down, I feel as though now I can just kind of broaden my horizons basically. Um, Unless it's just some sort of weird phenomenon with my team and everything like that, with the scenario team. So I don't know. The 170 has been working perfectly fine for me. Threw a mech kit on it, trying to play some mech, and it worked perfectly fine. No hiccups, no nothing. So yeah, I mean, other than that, yeah. Hopefully, I'm going to be looking more into the DSR Plus and seeing what the situation with those guys are. Again, with being back in the day, it was like, again, planet versus die, and I was just kind of thrown into the planet camp. But the story I was going to tell was I had a Geo 3. It was a sick marker. It was gold and black, amazing colorway. And I went to Wayne's World, and I had a little leak out of the macro fitting on the ASA. And I was like, man, I got to get this thing fixed. And when I popped that fitting out, the macro fitting out, I realized it was like a special macro fitting for the Pops ASA. And I was like, oh man, all right, well, I'll just play with it for the rest of the weekend and then bring it back and work on it. So I called Planet Eclipse, ordered out a new macro fitting. It was like $5 or something. I don't know. It was way cheap. So got it. They ordered that out and then brought it back to my field. And I think I called up my dad and I was like, hey dad, my gun's kind of off, like on the fritz. So I'm going to be a little late getting back. And returning some of his gear back to him because we had some backup markers in case things like this happen. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to the field real quick. Went to the field, and unbeknownst to me, there is inside of that macro fitting, there was an Allen key screw where you could just unscrew it. Well, I did not know that. So I grabbed a pair of pliers and went to twist it, and when I twisted it, it snapped straight off. And I was holding the macro fitting in one hand, and the macro piece was still in the ASA. And just before that, I told my dad, if I can't fix this thing, then I shouldn't be shooting Planet Eclipse. I shouldn't be shooting this Geo 3. And when that broke, I was like, all right, well, I ordered the new piece. So when I got that new piece in, I put it back in, put the ASA on and everything. It worked perfectly fine, but then I sold it because I'd said I shouldn't be shooting it. So yeah, that was a funny one. But this one I know is a short one. I know the quality of the last few videos were pretty piss poor on the video side of things, but I'm looking into getting a new camera, and the camera kind of stops at like the 30-minute mark. So I think the next few episodes are going to be under 30 minutes until I can get this new camera. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you want to see me on Instagram, it's nottylerbo. And I'm sure I'll just put like a little thing down here or whatever. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.